I think you're muted.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Africa Fashion Business Summit. I'm Dami, hosting today from Lagos, Nigeria. I apologize in advance for my background. It's a bit noisy this morning, and kindly bear with me. With me, I have Elena Foster Finley, the CEO and founder of Afara Group Africa from South Africa, and I have Senat Gibrib, who is the program leader at Instituto Marangoni. I would like them to, introduce themselves a little. We put up their bio on our social media handle. I would have loved to share with you now, but I think it's best to hear from them personally. Alana, would you like to go on first, please?
Sure. So, as you said, my name's Alana Foster Finley, but actually, I'm from Philly. I've lived in Johannesburg for 21 years, and my company is called Afara, which in Yoruba means bridge. And so, I specialize in bridging partnerships between the continent and the world across various sectors.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for this invite today. Thank you. My name is Senat Gebrab, and I'm Italian. I've been living here in London for the last 13 years. I started in Marangoni 7 years ago as program leader for the Fashion Business BA courses, but I come from the industry. My first job was here in London at Burberry, at the head office. I've been always working with international buyers for the international representation of the brand for Burberry. And then after that, I worked for Matthew Williamson, Pringle of Scotland, and Joseph, always in business development. And I'm senior fellow in business now, and I'm teaching to the new leaders of tomorrow.
Awesome. That's awesome. So we'll just go right into this conversation. We are reviewing the Africa fashion industry a year since 2020. That's the post COVID-19 pandemic, which caught the world unawares and affected the fashion industry globally, how much more Africa fashion industry. The first thing I would like to ask, right, is what's the first problem you were able to pinpoint during the COVID-19 pandemic for Africa when it, as touching the fashion industry? Alana, what was the first problem that stood out for you for Africa when it came to the fashion industry COVID-19 season?
So, I wouldn't say a first problem, but let me say this: COVID made us take many seats.
Yeah.
We had just come off a major high. I mean, I hope everyone remembers that just before COVID, we had all these celebrities wearing African designers. The world had converged on the continent, and the fodder was Africa is open for business. And then COVID hits. So I think that was a bit of a wrench in the system, more so than a problem. And we're going to get into how amazing, how powerful a pivot that was. And you'll see how it's going to be a powerful pivot for the continent in this discussion.
Senate? Okay.
I think one of the major points that COVID-19 accelerated regarding the fashion business in Africa is definitely production. I totally agree with what Alana said, but also production represented a key perspective, a key point, because for a long time, a lot of European and American designers, they had suppliers all over the world, spread all over the world. But since COVID arrived, production was stopped. And for the first time, retailers and brands, they had to rethink how they would be managing the supply chain. And I think these can offer a great opportunity for Africa to become the new hub for production, but in a concrete way. Because this COVID scenario, this Black Swan event definitely accelerated the huge number of opportunities that Africa can bring to the plate of the conversation.
Awesome. So do you think that Africa is recovering? Now, the global fashion industry is on the journey, to recovery. A lot of changes here and there, new conversations are springing up. Would you say that Africa is on that journey as well?
Something that I always say also in my class is that probably instead of recovering at the moment, everyone is learning. And I think it's a very positive, definitely growing learning curve. I think this pandemic showed us how we are really Darwinian creatures, that they can learn from the context. We can improve. So more than recovery, I'd love to use the word learning. We're learning how to deal with a new scenario, and I think we can definitely find opportunities that can guarantee growth.
Well, I want to say that the rest gave us time to recover and to rethink and to reboot. If you look now where we are, COVID slowed us down in a wonderful way. A lot of people rethought their businesses, their brands, their focus. Companies now realize they didn't have the budgets that they had before. So we're now more innovative. I think we're more connected as a world as well. So I think fashion has really, really come up. African fashion has a powerful position now in the game globally. We have the Intra-Africa Trade Conference, the Creative Mechanics that just happened. We've got a lot of things going around investment into the sector right now because people were locked away and had time with no disruptions to really look at our industry, our fashion sector. And instead of just, you had some wonderful questions you sent us. Instead of just stealing us like thieves in the night, they actually had to engage us. There was one way to engage us digitally. You couldn't come here, take something, go back to where you are. You had to face us. And so now designers are getting their due. Collaborations are actually more ethical. And, there's a great opportunity for some commercial gain. So yeah, there is some serious recovery going on, if I can say that.
So it's
really like what Alana said, and if I can chip on that, definitely digital will represent the most important tool for this active and positive engagement. And it's so true. For a long time, it was just a distant conversation. Now, thanks to digital and thanks to this time of rest, probably the conversation is becoming active and the engagement is real.
So from what you both said, I can boldly say that African fashion is redefined. They're on a journey of redefining what African fashion is. It seems like Africans are they're united. There's a new front. Designers are coming together, collaborating, and I want to know the agenda seems to be redefining what African fashion is compared to global fashion. It seems like, for example, Virgil Abloh, may so rest in peace, he infused a lot of African elements in some of his designs, and there was a lot of controversial conversations in that light. But I saw it as taking Africa to a global scene and trying to infuse it into what global fashion is, rather than leaving would I say foreign designers to take these ideas away. It's easier when Africans do this. So would you say that there's a redefinition to what African fashion is? Alana said rightly that the digital space sort of created what's the word? Created a void in physical contact. So it gave room for everybody to sit down and think. And I have this feeling that Africans are now realizing that we've got everything we need within ourselves when it comes to resources, partnership, collaborations, and it seems like there's a redefinition. So would you agree with me that the term African fashion is redefined just in the space of 1-2 years?
If I may say, I don't want to say redefined. I want to say that we are actually owning the narrative in a proper
owning
way.
The narrative. Okay.
Yeah. So when we think about, Virgil Abloh, and yes, it's I regret, I feel terrible about his passing. He, and it was quite controversial, the use of the, Louis Vuitton logo on the kente cloth. It was very controversial.
Yeah.
But what I think it did opened up, just quite visibly the need for us as a continent and African fashion to trademark and copyright things that were part of our definition. So our fabrics, our indigenous innovations, our sort of cultural currency. I always say right now that all of that is our currency and our identity. So it's not a redefinition. I personally think that we're finally saying, no. We actually do know how to do business. And this is how you're going to engage us. The definition of us still remains the same, but it's stronger. There's more ownership, and there's just more formality behind it, I believe.
Can I just chip in on that?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
That was a pause for you.
Thank you. I really like the concept of ownership, and next to ownership, definitely I add also stronger awareness, empowered by education. It's true now that more and more big institutions and educational providers, they're trying to penetrate the African market. I think now it's time to have more concrete approach to what education can make in Africa, in particular fashion education. I have classes with so many students that they come from Africa. Probably if we can provide in Africa better forms of fashion education, so then this redefinition of what African fashion is can also be embedded and linked to stronger education and stronger awareness of what African fashion can bring.
And if I may, I think what you're doing is so important because education is allowing us to archive things as well. I think we all know that we're an oral history sort of, and I say we because I've been here for 21 years. You know, everything passes orally, but I think education is the tool that's needed around archiving our just our journey around fashion. And then what we're going to wind up seeing once this archive is segmented is that everything comes from the continent, which is, quite, where we want to be.
And in this journey of redefinition, it's important that everyone can really understand that there is no going back now. It was a bit misleading at the beginning of this pandemic, and people were thinking, oh yeah, as soon as we're back to normal, the new normal
is normal
context, and everyone should embrace that the journey is towards the future and not going back to what it was. And I think for a long time, for at least 7-8 months, we were just thinking from March 2020, oh yeah, as soon as we are back to that. So the opportunity is huge. We're not back to that. So we just need to embrace.
And we're not going back to that. True.
Exactly.
I don't know what to that is. I actually don't even remember what to that is. What are we going? What is back?
Right. Okay, so this brings me to my next question. So it means that education and digital solutions are actually the power tool for Africa right now. It means that those are the tools for us to, re-educate or educate the consumers in Africa, designers, all players across the value chain, right? So where do you think we can begin? Is it with the curriculum? Is it with enlightening the designers on how to position their brand? Is it with collaborations? Is it with advertisements? How do we use education and these digital solutions to help Africa fashion industry?
Oh my goodness, are you kidding me? We're not even helping them anymore. They're way ahead of us. And I think, Sinead, you'll know this. So for instance, digital, social shopping, metaverse, NFTs for fashion.
Right.
There is this whole now cyber resilience. We all live online. We were so shocked about having to do it at first, but now that's the only way we engage. Circular textiles has gone digital.
Circular fashion, innovative materials.
Fashion, sustainable fashion.
The way we hire is digital. Logistics is digital. So,
it's digital. Shopping is digital. Right.
And I think also reflecting on what you asked, probably, and looking and listening to all of these topics that Lana just mentioned, probably we can make a clear distinction between formal action, like inappropriate curriculum, development of academic plan of studies, and all of them probably are actions that can be very formal, with institutions that they will be entering the continent with specific programs. But informally, we can also think about collaborations and having African designers that they can get the full exposure of what does it mean to run a business, supply chain, costing, range planning, and provide them with all that knowledge that can help them to grow the business and to really have that strong awareness that African fashion is starting a new journey.
And I think on that note, there are some organizations, one thing that has come out of COVID, and there was one before COVID, but there are organizations now that are getting sort of like this powerful advisory board of people across the value chain, and there are impact ventures for the African creative sector. So that is happening. And it's great you mentioned that, because there are a number of them a number of our designers have gone into hiding, and they're going to come out as strong as some of our global luxury brands, because they've got some really strong impact ventures behind them.
There are also non-profit organizations that are springing up, like the Africa Fashion Foundation, Council for Africa International Fashion Education, and they're doing great. They are bringing up conversations about decolonizing Africa fashion education. They're bringing up conversation about funding within Africa by Africans. And, I totally agree with you. Designers have gone ahead of us, and it seems like 2022 is going to be a big break for a lot of them. And we really do look forward to that. So I'm going to share a question that one of the participants put up right here.
Yeah.
Says, okay, what can Africans do to protect their brand, their creativity, their talent, their sweat? This is a great question.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Well, let me say, you are as a creative, you are at the mercy of being appropriated. Yes, you are. However, I think your uniqueness and you defining your talent, your brand, whatever it is that you're doing, but also kind of being smart. You can research trademark and copyright lawyers. There are some wonderful law firms out here that are starting to really help creatives trademark and copyright their brands. I mean, let's take, for example, just the other day, MC Light announced that she is actually trademarked MC Light. So it's possible to trademark your name and your brand.
I agree with Alana. Definitely a clear legal framework of reference for these African young designers can help them. And again, we go back to education and how the power of knowing and having a clear background of knowledge can help the designer to protect their creativity.
Great question.
That takes me to the next question. So Alana did mention circular textile, circular economy, and it brings me back to African fashion history. And I say this has been the way in Africa. We've always been handmade. Our methods have been handmade. Our methods have been slow fashion, traditional fashion in Africa. The method of textile creation have been, the new conversation around circular fashion. So how can Africa position themselves properly in this new conversation? Because it looks like a culture is now becoming a solution. A culture that is rooted in Africa, found to be the norm within African cultures, is now a solution to a global fashion problem. How can Africa position themselves properly?
So there's an academic on this conversation. So I know she's going to really, really give us a great, great, solid answer around that. But what I've been looking at is just this now a balancing act between high tech and low tech. There is luxury in our indigenous innovations, and that is our USP, our unique selling property out here in the market. So while the industry expects us and wants us to do like them and have quicker outputs and, be more inventive, faster fashion, there is the balancing act just around making sure we are sustainable and that we don't harm the universe, because that's our core. So something that's quite exciting that I know of as well is we look at some of the fast fashion outlets that are on the continent and their commitment to recycled textiles as part of their collections. And I know for a fact that there's going to be a massive project around taking textile waste from the continent and re-engineering a new fiber so that there you go, you have that circular economy. and that they're going to allow that to be the fastness in the way our sector works. However, we can then go back to weaving, which has been a sector that's been decimated. We can go back to beading, which people seem to think is too slow. And we can sort of find a way to blend the two. Yeah, use the digital and the software to bring the high tech and the low tech together in a sustainable way.
Fantastic.
My focus regarding circular fashion and circular economy in Africa linked to production is more on the nature of circular fashion. Circular fashion can happen when materials are natural, and this is one of the DNA element of African fashion. So probably more than any other countries, in Africa, they're not using artificial fibers, so then the real circular can happen. It's something very similar to the concept of sustainability. So basically, a sustainable garment is sustainable because it can last, and then it becomes circular because having the product natural fibers, natural textiles, then you can really create the circular framework, and you can reuse that fabrics. So then this is a DNA aspect of African fashion. So more than any others can really represent the huge opportunity for developing a circular fashion system. It's something very similar to Made in Italy. If you think about the district of production in Italy, those district of production, they have 100 years of craftsmanship experience, and they have also yeah, exactly. And they have also production time that is linked to the ability of many, expert, and some of them are, in most cases, family-run businesses. So they know very well how to produce. So in a similar way, it's a sort of reproduction of those mini districts. I don't know if you ever visited, but in Tuscany, if you travel, you find these mini factories, and they've been producing leather products for the last, 100 years, and it's a family-run business, and it really goes from generation to generation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to have that here in the Western Cape. We still do. When I worked with Kisua and we did our collection from Net-a-Porter, it was, there was a family of women that did our production, the grandmother, the auntie, the daughter, the niece.
Yeah. And sometimes
that to me is also circular. You're right. Beautiful.
Exactly. And if you travel to south of Italy, in Sicily or Puglia, you really find those family-run businesses that have been in the market for so many years, but they manage to keep that human approach to production, and it's not massive, and it's really based on craftsmanship and natural fibers and natural textiles. So these are the key elements of when you are dealing with a circular system.
Circular. So that means that, like you said, education is going to play a major role in ensuring that Africa, we own our culture, and then we pass on this culture, the tradition, the skill, the knowledge, the methodology of production of textile, beading, weaving, because it seems like the younger generation are more interested in the global way of doing things rather than tradition, rather than learning from what we have in our culture. So for the fashion industry in Africa, it would require us, putting this word out and encouraging the young ones to imbibe this culture again, if that's what I'm hearing. Because
Italy, but you gotta wait. You have to be honest, my love. I don't want to cut you, but you got to be honest.
Okay.
We're in a digital divide here, and that young person is the consumer. So they want to be able to 3D print their outfit for the night at home. If you understand me. So we've got to really think about the fact that they are the consumer.
But how do we protect the culture? How do we protect?
It's a balancing act. It's a balancing act. Methods. Yeah, it's got to be a balancing act. That's where education comes in.
Yeah, and reflecting on education, thinking about the huge number of Gen Z that I have in the classes, Gen Z, they seem more interested to know where the product is from, who made my clothes. Absolutely. So all that movement of who made my clothes can really be a strong factor to consider, because more and more maybe they're not buying into big brands, but they tend to, making those questions: who made my clothes, where supply chain is from for my garments that I'm wearing. So Gen Z has that questioning that probably millennials, they had less in the past.
Yeah, the McKinsey report calls that social shopping. It's called your purchase history. So that's what the McKinsey report said is going to be very, very important for the future consumer. That's social shopping.
I agree with you both. But my concern, so from Lagos, Nigeria, what I notice is that you have the older people who are still doing this production. So you have lesser number of the Gen Z, or the younger generation learning these skills, right? So my concern is, when this older generation begin to grow older, who are they going to pass on these skills to? How do we preserve that method? How do we preserve that process? If you see what I mean. I mean, the younger people in Nigeria and Lagos, everybody wants to go 3D, everybody wants to learn the high tech, everybody's going digital, or not everybody, majority of the Gen Z. So we have a very few number who are interested in learning the craftsmanship, learning the skills, and that's exactly where I'm concerned. How do we, I won't call it a problem,
think you must worry. I don't think you
Right.
must worry. I think it's going to be, I think that space in fashion is going to be what is called African luxury. I don't think you have to worry. It's not going to go away. It's going to be protected and preserved through education and archived through education.
It's going to be the treasure for the future.
Absolutely.
Right.
I don't think it's going to go away,
So
but it's up to the educators.
luxury.
It is luxury. It's already luxury.
Right.
It's our slow fashion. Our slow fashion is African luxury, and it costs more. It costs just as much as some luxury products in the world. And it takes education to hand it down to the other generations, and then you can have them choose. But what they're probably going to do is they're probably going to fuse the two. They're going to find a beautiful balance between the two, but it's not going to go away.
That is
and reflecting on the balance, the digital. And reflecting on the balance that Alana just mentioned, probably the digital is the tool that can help this young generation that you're mentioning, and they will know more about the importance of the culture, and they are going to see at craftsmanship, artisanal knowledge as the real treasure for the future.
Okay, so good answers canceled all my worries. Let me put it that way. So I look forward to, seeing all of this play out. Now, this brings me to the next question. Now, in the world now, there's a new work balance. Everybody has a new way. The work culture has changed. Is it the same in Africa? Would you say that for the fashion industry, looking at garment factories across the world, we don't have the same volume in Africa? However, the pandemic has created a need for a change in the working system. Would you say that it affected Africa's working system for the fashion industry? And what is the future? Would we also embrace? I think that you probably have answered it partially, Alana, when you say the digital is the future. But would you say that we will embrace the way, the garment factories in Bangladesh, Indonesia, India are functioning, or is there going to be a unique system in Africa? Because the world is now looking to Africa for luxury. The world is looking to Africa for production. What is our system going to look like? What is it going to look like for the garment industry?
So Nate, I'm going to give this one to you because I have a hope. I have a hope for what it will look like, but I'm sure that you are more across what it actually has morphed into.
I'm going to combine my answer with a bit of hope because I have a hope as well. So from what you said, I hope that we're not going to be the same like Bangladesh or Indonesia. I think it's important to keep this strong recognition and awareness of the generations that there are behind fashion production in Africa. So, and I think we don't need those massive productions. We don't need those massive volumes. I think it's important to really use this moment for a beautiful moment where we can really make the others discovering what we bring to the table of the conversation with African fashion. So I wouldn't be keen to go for big numbers of production, but on the other side, I'd use the digital as the real accelerator that could help for sharing this culture, sharing this knowledge that the African designers they are bringing to the international scene. So I hope that this scenario.
That's a good way to look at it.
But also, let's deal with the reality. There is a reduction in workspaces. Okay, all right, and we're now immersed in a digital space. So let's be very, very honest. I've done some research around this. Designs have become wholly digital. So there's less sketching of a design. There's software actually made available. There's avatars, there's 3D, there's virtual sort of experiences. So fewer people are needed in the value chain. I mean, one of the things that we talk about are just computer programs that are automating the systems, loss in jobs. So whether we like it or not, the workspaces are shrinking. My hope is that we can become more collaborative. I think that our African fashion designers have been one-man bands in a sense of not looking to collaborate with one another, share learnings, share wins. As they say, go. If you want to go far, you do what? You go together. So. I think we're going to have to learn to and I was talking about this before with someone, consortiums, collaboration is king. And that's what I really hope for. That's my hope.
I really like the concept of collaboration. I don't know if we're going to be playing the video from the other guest that was meant to join, but also Nicola, he was talking about the power of collaboration.
Might be a great time. Might be a great time to do that.
Yeah. Do you think it might be possible to play that video or no? Or it doesn't?
Let's test our technology.
I'm actually about to play the video right now.
Okay.
Let's test our technology in African fashion. So stand by, audience. Let's see if we're about what we're talking about.
Can you hear that? Okay, it's not showing.
We can hear it, so you can.
Maybe just share the screen, yeah.
Yeah, good for you. Let's do it.
That is producing in excess.
And maybe unmute yourself, just in case they need to hear your screen.
Yes, just give me a minute.
We did see it, so it's almost there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I keep getting, I can't play the video. So I'm just to try one more time. Just that I can play it right now. Okay.
Third time's a charm.
Yes.
But in the meantime, while you're trying to do that, I think when we talk about collaboration, one of the things that I'm excited that Sinead is here to talk about is just around the education, around just this new metaverse, fashion in the metaverse. I don't know if that started to be a part of your curriculum yet. AI and algorithms and all that sort of virtual experience that designers have to add into their offering?
Yes, so actually, it's such a good question because last week with Lablaco and the Circular Fashion Summit, our students, they attended the first VR event. So yeah, Metaverse is part. Oh, I think the video is coming.
Yay!
Me to the panel, and I'm really sorry I can't attend due to some COVID issue. But it's my pleasure to send you a very quick message about the fashion industry in Africa. The fashion industry in your continent is incredible. We are talking about a business sector that is producing in excess of $30 billion a year, according to the most recent data. So it's a well-developed, inspiring, and important sector for the entire continent. We're talking about one of the biggest continents on the planet, and the fashion industry is influenced by hundreds of different tradition, heritage, and culture, which makes of the design of Africa an incredibly unique mix of these heritage and tastes. It's very important for the future of the country that this path continues to grow. And as we know, African design has long inspired Western brands, but we need to have a shift now. We need African brands to be represented across the entire globe. And to do that, style is important. And of course, you have an incredible and recognizable style, but it's not the only factor. What is going to be important for the development of the business sector in your continent is going to be to build the infrastructure that allows supply chain to manufacture the product completely in your continent, and infrastructure of sales and marketing to represent your beautiful brands across the planet. I'm very positive that this is already happening, and this will happen more and more. And I look forward to see more of your designs and brands in catwalks, shows, and being worn by all of the people across the globe. Thank you so much. Good luck for this beautiful panel, and hopefully we'll get the chance to meet each other very soon. Bye.
Okay, so how was that?
Yeah, very good, very good. Nicola is one of our main guest speakers for the course. Nicola is the chairman and founder of EcoAge, and you might know the sister, Livia Firth. And since I joined Marangoni, I really wanted to bring sustainability to the curriculum. And he's an active member who's always, guest speakers, and the students, they listen to him, and he's very good also in sharing concept like circular fashion, blockchain for the fashion industry, innovative supply chain management. So definitely his message can set the right mindset and the right tone for what Africa can be for the future in terms of fashion business and its development.
And I think it's so powerful. I mean, that was a powerful moment. I think even this, what you're hosting today is a powerful moment. I mean, there are a number of people around the world that have been pushing for African fashion to take its place, its due place. And they've been working quietly behind the scenes. I mean, just the three people that you have here and just all that we put into it. We're one in thousands that are pushing for, just as he said, for Africa to not just be, represented by Western brands, but to finally take its place.
So I played the video a couple of times because, it's good to hear that, Africa is now, like the time for African fashion is now, and it's time to experience it on all platforms. So this will take me to the next section, which will be, what do you hope to see in 2022 in African fashion industry? What are you looking out for? Now, these are just well-informed predictions, but it'll be great to have them on the table now, so that at the end of 2022 we sit and we look at it and we say, okay, this is how far we achieved this and that. So, Alana, what do you hope to see in the African fashion industry in 2022?
Let's see. So one of the main things I hope to see are these impact investment groups, actually creating some African brands at the level of a Gucci and an LVMH, a Burberry, making money and impacting the clothing sector on that level. That's one. Two, I'm really have gone down a rabbit hole on this digital fashion art and NFTs. And I mean, you got to look at the fact that Nike's just acquired a company for undisclosed amount around, virtual clothing. I hope that African fashion can take its place in that as well. But more importantly, I really hope that we cross all our T's and dot our I's and get our trademark and copyright situation sewed up, no pun intended. Because to watch the Ashanti Kingdom kind of have to fight for the fact that LVMH was just freely able to, and maybe I don't know all that I should, and freely able to put their logo on a fabric like that and put it on the cover of Vogue, as well as have watched in the past, other brands like Fendi do the Basutu blanket. My hope for the future is that while we are moving fast forward, and that all the world is ready to be there with us, that we also protect. And like you said, protect and archive and preserve.
Regarding my predictions, definitely I agree with the two Ds, so development and digital. In terms of development, so active investment that, as Nicola said from EcoAge in the short video, is so important to develop the right infrastructure, the right framework. It could be educational framework, legal framework regarding copyright and protection of the artwork and the craftsmanship of African designers, but definitely development with investment. And then for the digital, it's time now to explore in full the digital opportunity. NFTs is not just replacing a physical garment with the digital, is more than that. It's engaging with a new niche target customer. So digital can really represent the opportunity for this 2022. And then again, the social commerce that Alana was mentioning from the McKinsey report, together with the metaverse, that is another one of the trends that are linked to the key consumer shifts of the report. So yeah, this is my overview predictions.
Fantastic. Okay, so there were two segments I hoped you would mention. Education in 2022, what role would it play, Senai?
Crucial role in a sense that is going to set the right skills and framework for the young designers and the African designers to understand how they can really bring a stronger voice to the conversation. I think for a long time, using a sort of metaphor of having us sitting at the table, for a long time, it seems that the voice was a feeble voice or not so loud. It's important that now the voice can become confident, clear, and with a strong awareness of the potential that could come from African fashion. And definitely education can help in making this voice stronger, clear, and with the right recognition, as also what came out from the message from Nicola in EcoAge.
Fantastic. So, Elena, for you, mine will be, how do you think the creative industry in Africa, can support the vision for African fashion industry? Because I know that there's a way the whole creative space can collaborate. Music, can collaborate with the fashion industry, merchandising, and all of that. What do you think that that's the future to look forward to in 2022? Do you see the possibilities?
Well, you say the future. I'm sorry to cut you, but they've all been working together already. It's already a community.
But now, there's a need for more deliberate, more obvious, more visible, or tangible.
But babe, it already is. I have no apologies. I have to be honest with you. If it wasn't for our music artists, a lot of designers wouldn't have the visibility that they have.
True.
Okay.
I agree.
Our indigenous fashion is made visible in art. Okay. A lot of the subjects that are painted is the the creative clothing that is worn across the continent. So I do think that they're already conspiring for African fashion industry's greatness. They have been a long time ago. Now, for the future, I think there needs to be a more concerted effort. I think look at initiatives that were just done in Durban around IATF, the Intra-Africa Trade Fair. The fact that they had a separate event for the creative sector shows you that they've got a plan. And so I'm looking forward to Abidjan in 2020, I think it's 2022, 23. Let's see how the creative sector has gotten together in the next 2 years. And hopefully we're going to be celebrating, we're going to be shouting, talking about some good deals, some really good, money that's been pumped into the industry.
Into the creative sector, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, okay. Sena, you want to add anything to that?
Well, regarding the next step, I mean, I think Alana was quite clear, and then I might need to join a meeting in the next few minutes. So
we're rounding
Thank
up
you so much
already,
for this time.
actually.
This was wonderful.
Sorry.
I actually have gone through all the questions I have, and I'm really glad that everybody got the chance to say what they want to say. So thank you, Alana. Thank you, Senai, for joining us. If we have more questions from the audience, we will send them to you directly, and do our best to send the feedbacks to the audience.
If you need me to stay on for questions, the academic has to go though. I'm more than willing to stay on for questions if you'd like.
Okay, thank you, Senai.
Thank you very much.
Us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Okay, so Alana, it's great to still have you, stay with us. This is a very
important conversation. So thank you very much.
Okay, so this is the first of its kind, and I'm hoping that we can build on this, like reviewing the fashion industry, reviewing the creative industry in Africa. I'm sure that it's been happening, like you say, there's a lot of verbal conversations, but not so much of a community built around this. Now, how would you, what's your opinion on McKinsey's report on the global fashion? Do you think that they take into account the Africa fashion industry? Because I've read the 2020 report, I'm on the 2021 report, 2022 report, I mean, and I try my possible best to look for Africa in the sum of that report, and I'm not so sure that I can, pinpoint where the continent is mentioned. So do you think that there's a need for us to come up with such solutions for ourselves, for Africa as a whole?
No. So here I'm going to disagree with you. We were so busy trying to eat alone. We have been so busy for years trying to eat alone that there's nothing to eat. I am so excited that McKinsey, you have to think about who McKinsey is now. They're at the top of the game globally. That McKinsey is focusing on African fashion for years, enough to do a report. And so, sorry, Africa, that the way we usually do things isn't coming through. But it's not time for that anymore.
No, it's time for us
to take the way we do it and to find a beautiful adaptation that works for us globally, where everyone we need is sitting at the table with us.
There really isn't a future where we are standing alone. It has to be a collaborative effort. That's what you're saying, right? Okay. So
you had some questions. What were some of the questions? Were they audience questions?
There are no questions at the moment. Someone said something about, someone put a question up, but it's not very clear. So I'm just going to try and rephrase it. It says, what's the future of fashion tech? This is from Ari John. Then, a lot of...
we've talked a lot about that.
Exactly.
The future of fashion tech. We've talked a lot about that. I think
exactly.
If he missed it, maybe he came in late. So
you can always watch the session again.
No, but also I'll just do very quickly, if he's still listening, future of fashion tech it's changed the way we manufacture, it's changed the way we do patterns, it changes the way we have digital printing now. It's changed the way we actually even create garments. It changes our distribution. as well, getting garments to different partners because now everything is online. So yeah, it's hopefully it'll really catapult us to where we should be. And what's nice is we've got our own sort of Silicon Valleys popping off on the continent as well.
Yes,
so that's another good thing. We have an ownership of this digital space that fashion's moving into.
And I think that fashion entrepreneurs are beginning to diversify. We had so many fashion designers, but we didn't have a lot of people in the other aspects, the other value chains across the fashion, especially in West Africa. Let me speak for it, West African region. We didn't have a lot of people playing in the technology space. We didn't have a lot of people playing in the business space. So we had a lot of people designing, and it looked so much like hobbies. But gradually, we've moved from that phase, and a lot of entrepreneurs are beginning to see that they can actually build a career in different sectors of
and
the value chain.
We owe our governments, we owe organizations, African Union, we owe our banks, we owe our trade entities, here, IDC, Department of Trade and Industry. They pull people, they pull young people out of the education system, and they educate them around the fact that, yes, you may have this skill, but there's a place for you in the creative sector. Our creative economy is poised to be our number one revenue generating economy off the continent. And so it's great that now we've got fashion law as well. We've got graphic designers doing, doing digital designs on fabrics. So yeah, you're right. We've got engineers, making base cloths. So yeah, I think I really am excited about the future of fashion on the continent, because I think, as Sinead said, the world knows that we're a key player and a key partner.
And we're about to come out in full style. I look forward to 2022.
Now, as I said on my Instagram, we're about to run this game.
I think I'm just going to borrow that. We're about to run this game. Thank you so much, Alana. And I do look forward to meeting with you sometime 2022 to just, do a quick review on how far we've come.
Yeah, see how we're doing, on everything we've talked about. Wonderful. Exactly, I'm here for you.
Thank you so much, Alana. And
thank you.
I would like to say a big thank you to the audience for joining us. And we look forward to receiving more questions if there are, and we would, get them answered and get the answers across to you in the best possible way. Till the next session of the review, which is in January, where we'll be focusing on collaboration, funding, and community. This is thank you, and have a good morning. Thank you, Alana Foster Finley. It's been great having you here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Bye, ma'am.
See you next time.
Thank you, ma'am. See you next time.